So for some reason I've been struggling to do this video. I'm not entirely sure why, but I hope you're all doing well, drinking plenty of water. I want to thank you for all of the amazing support as of recently, whether you're watching the video all the way through or leaving a like or a comment or subscribing, sharing it, whatever it may be. I greatly and wholeheartedly appreciate you. Thank you. Today, however, I want to talk about Kaiju No. 8 because its direction, its future, the scale, the scope, everything that it wants to do is looking absolutely beautiful. The opportunities are endless, the uniqueness that comes with it, and the exploration of Kaiju origin, the story itself, the growth in all of these characters, everything's just swirling together in this nice, big, beautiful package. And I am all for it. I love it. If you're not caught up to Kaiju No. 8, firstly, you're missing out. Please do catch up if you get the chance. You'll probably really enjoy it. I understand this story is not for everyone. Might be a little bit too simplistic. Maybe you don't like giant lizards slapping each other. That's fine. But if you do enjoy it, pure entertainment, pure dopamine. And this effortlessly transitions me into my first topic, pacing. A lot of people like to talk about pacing like it is the end all of end all, meaning that if your pacing isn't good, your story cannot be good. But there's so much more that goes into pacing that I think a lot of people don't really put into perspective or give enough attention to because it's very difficult to pull it apart. And it is also completely deterred by the magazine that you're published in. Weekly Shonen Jump obviously has a weekly formula, so your story and its pacing is going to rotate around a one chapter every single week formula. This does not traverse over to other stories. There's no reason why you would want that type of pacing in a bi-weekly story or a story that publishes 3 chapters a month or 1 chapter every 2 weeks, whatever it may be. So if you can acknowledge this, it's really great when stories outside of Weekly Shonen Jump that have a different publishing method, that handle things differently lengthwise for their chapter, as well as when they're published, you get a completely different pacing experience. And Kaiju No. 8 is a great example of super fast pacing, but completely and entirely on track. At no point does it ever feel overwhelming. At no point does it ever feel like you are missing out on a much bigger thing. At no point does it feel redundant. The pacing feels great. If it was slower, you would drag things on a little bit too much. And if it was faster, you would not allow enough time for these moments to sink in, for these very important moments to be empowering or impactful. There's a couple of ways that Kaiju No. 8 has really good pacing. It's because it's held together by really simple points of interest. Your characters and their growth, Kaiju and their growth, and how the story transitions them over time. They parallel each other very easily, and the story can kind of effortlessly give both of them to you without overwhelming you too much. I think the naming scheme and even the number system itself is super simple. It's the perfect amount of information to give you without having to explain it in full detail, because it actually uses a real world element. So they have a number system for kaijus, right? Not only do you have the numbered kaiju, which is 1 to 10 currently, with Kafka, the main character, being Kaiju No. 8, but they give them a rating, usually out of 10, or the power scale, basically. Anything over a 6.0 is considered like a base killer. It's going to be very massive, very destructive, and you'll need like a captain or a vice captain or a whole platoon to take out something of a 6.0 and above. Every numbered kaiju that exists is 6.0 and above, and they vary quite drastically. Some may be 8 points, some might be 9 points. I believe Kafka is currently the highest rated one. This probably sounds familiar to you because it's meant to kind of resemble the earthquake magnitude scale. So the higher it is, obviously the more destructive it's going to be. So having a scale like this is so simple and works so well that you don't have to provide a ton of information to completely understand it. Thus, when you couple it with the pacing of the story, everything just efficiently moves forward. You never find yourself trying to catch up to anything because it's very easy to digest. And that's one of the most pleasurable and entertaining things about Kaiju No. 8 is that everything is digestible. For how fast people like to claim it is, by all means you can get through it very easily. Obviously with this number system, the monsters scale. So all of the ones below 6.0 are going to be somewhat filler, stuff that is just fodder for army. Everything above 6 potentially has intelligence. It's going to be very difficult to handle and going to be very powerful. This area is where you can play around with the uniqueness of kaiju, give them an identity, give them completely unique and differing powers, make them super complex or obnoxiously powerful. What's great about this area is that you can pour so much into a kaiju without it becoming too overpowered. So you can give them super super unique abilities, make them super identifiable, make them super manipulative or intelligent, and yet they are still not overpowered because they're still within this percentage. So Kaiju number 9, for example, very powerful individual, very intelligent, has a lot of unique abilities, can transform into many humans and absorb them, but also create monsters over the 6.0 scale. He quite literally created the next number monster, which is Kaiju number 10, even though it was some sort of a prototype. So he may be the most powerful individual. He has all of these unique abilities, can do all of these things, and is kind of self-proclaiming himself as the king of monsters. Yet he was almost killed. A lot of people had to go up against him to make that a possibility, yet he is manageable. So of course, this level of development comes into play for the human characters. And once again, this transitions very nicely into the other approach to your development, your characters. If you're doing all of this with your monsters, your characters have to keep up. But you're probably wondering, okay, like you have Kafka, you have all of these crazy commanders, what can you do with these human characters to make them more powerful, to make them compete with numbered kaiju? Well, you bring in the kaiju themselves, you weaponize them for the humans. We are currently exploring the option of wearing numbered kaiju armor. Think of it as sentient armor, and we are giving them to the other prolific characters. But we are also turning numbered kaiju and kaiju themselves into weapons. Some of the captains are going to wield kaiju weapons, and other characters are going to wear some of the numbered kaiju. This somewhat puts them more so in line with Kafka, the main character, as he's growing and changing, and more importantly, understanding his own abilities. He can start to use certain aspects or portions of his body in differing ways, but it all has an effect. It's not something that he can just turn on and off. There is difficulties that come with it. So it's going to be very interesting in the future, the choices he has to make and the sacrifices he potentially has to make. So you're probably thinking this all sounds great, right? We're pushing the monsters forward, we're pushing the cast of characters forward, pacing is allowing this all to be possible very rapidly and successfully and efficiently. What about area? What about location? How do we take this the next step forward? We have that too. The newest chapters brought forward a whole new realm, a whole new area, a whole new idea. That somewhere within the ocean, there is an area that is completely inaccessible to humans. That is a breeding ground for kaiju potentially. And that if there ever were kaijus powerful enough to destroy the world, to take over humanity, and to completely wreak havoc on everything, this is where it would be. This portion of area within the earth, underneath the ocean. Sounds familiar, right? A little bit like the Hollow Earth from Godzilla and Kong. Pretty much exactly that. This breeding ground, this environment, this place that exists completely changes the landscape of Kaiju number 8's story. Not only literally in the artistic sense, but also conceptually for the narrative itself. See, this whole time we have been defending military bases, defending ourselves, defending the cities and civilization and humans. They have never been on the attack. They have never tried to put a pin in anything before it actually started. So now that they have an idea, now that they potentially know what Kaiju number 9 wants to do, now that they're growing in power and efficiency and have some sort of a hypothetical time bracket they can work with, they want to obliterate him off the face of the earth. And they're looking at expanding all of their options to do so. So of course, Kafka is getting stronger, the main cast of characters is getting stronger, and they are ultimately preparing for war. What makes this really scary is that there is an individual that Kaiju number 8 absorbed that has a lot of information on the military and the people and powers within it. So they need to be unpredictable. They need to evolve people and things and tactics to change in its entirety. So we're not going to see the same fighting methods. We're not going to see the same people do the same things because Kaiju number 9 knows this, and the characters themselves now know this. So we're leading more towards being unpredictable. That is the only thing that gives us the upper hand, and we have to be powerful in doing so, which in turn makes the story rather unpredictable. It gives you some sort of an idea with where it wants to go, but you can't hypothetically think of an outcome. Is it going to work? Is it going to even be possible? How much damage is it going to cause, and what are the drawbacks for it? So far, Kaiju number 8 is doing some massive massive things. It's going in a very beautiful direction, and I for one couldn't be more excited for it. It's such a great story to just indulge within, such a great story to keep up to date with. Every single chapter is fun and entertaining and palatable and is so interesting to digest, and I was so curious on where we would go after all of this amazingness that we've had for the past 50, 60 odd chapters. But now it's getting even more expansive. It's extrapolating things in so many different ways, and it's pushing everyone forward in such an incredible direction. Its characters, its powers, its world, its development, everything is just moving at such an incredible pace. It's not too quick, it's not too slow, it's moving with purpose, and it is creating a future that is so incredibly bright for itself. The manga has quite effortlessly captured the world by storm. It is a global sensation. If this is to get an anime, which I really hope it does, and there's rumors going around that it potentially will, you will most likely see this series everywhere, and I can only pray and hope that a great anime adaptation comes its way. There is a lot of studios that would do it justice, and I can only doubly hope that the right amount of time and creativity goes into it. Out of a lot of different things, Kaiju No. 8 has one of, if not the brightest futures ahead for itself, in both its manga department and its anime department. If things go well, you're looking at a series that is going to blow up exponentially again, and could quite easily be the next big thing, which in hindsight is rather funny, because everything was against it at the beginning. A lot of people thought its pacing was too quick. A lot of people still think it's very simplistic. It's only about kaijus or monsters. It's not very unique, and it's not published in Weekly Shonen Jump, yet it has managed to break records, sell excruciatingly well, and just continue to impress people through and through. It's not the best thing to ever exist. It's not something inherently special that's never been done before, but what it is doing beautifully and perfectly well. On every single front that Kaiju No. 8 has, I am extremely excited for its future, and undoubtedly a lot of you are too. Endtime. So with that, welcome to the end of the video. If you have made it this far, thank you. I appreciate you. Let me know how you feel about the newest stuff within Kaiju No. 8. How do you feel towards the direction of the story, with where it wants to go and what it's currently teasing? And if an anime were to come out for it, what studio would you want to do Kaiju No. 8? There's a lot of fantasy picks, perfect choices type thing, but who do you think would be the most appropriate? They could definitely do that story justice. Let me know in the comment section below. But with that, I want to thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Leave a like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Drink plenty of water, and I will see you within the next one. Goodbye.